Shalom Israel. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rekar Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel, who rule and teach well, to the Akims and the Iwas and Byways pushing this word in truth and sincerity, and to the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now I've come across a few articles that I want to go through, and there's a video I want to play as well. There's a couple of videos, and it's about the lockdown that they're having in Italy. It's starting to cause a bit of problems over there. Now, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to play this first. This is showing you how their lockdown rules are. There's a lady who's going to be talking about, you know, how stringent their lockdown rules are. Like for instance, over in the UK, we can go out to buy food, to get medicine. You can go out for a jog or an exercise, I should say, and depending on the type of job you do, you're allowed to go to work. Other than that, you're meant to stay indoors. So, but the lockdown that they got in Italy is starting to cause a bit of unrest. So I'm going to play this video first, which should go through their lockdown procedure, and then I'll read some articles and play another video and just close out with the scripture.
Now with me now is Carly Drinkwater. She moved to Italy just 6 months ago to become a teacher there. She is now using a blog to chronicle what has just been an unprecedented experience. Carly, welcome. Thank you so much for talking to us. And what's it like to be in Italy right now?
Thank you for having me. It's really surreal to be here at the moment. It's not normal life by any stretch. We're effectively under house arrest. We're like prisoners now. We have to be inside all the time. The only time we can leave the house is to buy food from the supermarket or go to the pharmacy because those are essential needs. But that's not done freely either. You have to take ID. You have to take a self-declaration form, and it has to be signed with all your personal information, and you have to specifically write why you are going to the place you're going to. So, for example, if you want to buy the weekly shop, you have to write, I am going to buy food. And it can't be used as an excuse either. You're not allowed to go and just buy a pint of milk as an excuse to get some fresh air. You are checked that you are actually buying food to last you for a few days.
So as you can see, the measures that they've got in the lockdown over there is quite stringent. And because of that now, it's causing a bit of unrest. Now this is just in Italy, you know, and this can happen in other areas as well, depending on how stringent they put this lockdown measure. Because a few places have got lockdowns. You know, you've got lockdown in America as well. Like I said, over in the UK and other places, they're doing lockdowns as well. So I want to go through these articles. This lockdown in Italy is starting to cause a bit of unrest, and this can spread, you know. This is coronavirus. Italy lockdown doomed to fail amid looting and police checkpoints. Now this webpage was giving me a bit of problem, so if it's still giving problem, I'm just going to skip it out. It says Italy has put some 60 million residents under coronavirus lockdown, with scenes of panic buying at supermarkets, reports of looting at hospitals and tourist attractions such as St. Peter's Square in the Vatican and Rome's Trevi Fountain deserted. Now we see that it's starting to cause people to loot and do all these kind of madness. And this is, like I said, this is just one place. This is just in Italy. Okay, so far it's behaving itself. It says, experts fear Italy's coronavirus lockdown is doomed to fail amid reports of looting of medical supplies, panic buying at supermarkets and hospitals nearing their breaking point. And what's also making the hospital go near their breaking point is all these people that's actually dying. It says famous tourist attraction and streets were virtually deserted on Tuesday as the government imposed unprecedented measures on some 60 million residents to try to stop COVID-19 from spreading. Now this article is going back to the 10th of March, but then one that I'm going to end out with is a bit more recent. It says, and the fact that this is around the 10th of March. The other one that I'm going to do, this one here, is, let me find the date on this. This one's more recent. Where's the date on this? Yeah, this is the 28th of March. So this is the 10th of March, and the unrest is started around here, and it's still going on for a couple of weeks. So you never know. You know, these things have a way of spreading throughout the countries, because the same thing's going to be happening. It says heavily armed soldiers were on patrol, and police had set up checkpoints in cities such as Milan, and in Naples, a car with blue flashing lights drove through the streets to announce and enforce the lockdown. Shoppers began queuing outside supermarkets in the early hours, and they cleared shelves once they were finally allowed inside, although they had to stay a meter apart. And this is just some images of the police that got on the streets. It says, British Airways, Ryanair and other airlines halted all flights to and from Italy, which has the second highest case total in the world, with almost 10,000 infections and 463 deaths. And what you found out with this coronavirus, I did a video called, I believe it was Spain State of Emergency. Now the article that I read in there, in that video, there's quite a few countries that's actually forbidding people to come in and out of the country. So things like food and imports, you know, that's going to be starting to diminish in certain countries. Like I said over here, our imports on food is 48%, and the rest is agriculture. And you know, about a month back or so, month and a half, we had some big floods which damaged a lot of crops. So even the food supply that we produce over here is going to be running out. And with this lockdown thing, the way what that has actually done, it's allowed them to sort of budget how the food is actually distributed out, because across the world food shortage is starting to happen, but they're not really telling us this. You know, there's a brother, one of the elders from his channel is GMS Fear the Most High 7 Bar. He done a video, a beautiful video on famine. You know, you should go and see that, and it lets you know. You know, he played a clip in there from a guy who he tracks a lot of the food sources and stuff that's been going on, and it shows that food is actually getting short, but they're not really telling us this. And where they've managed to put in lockdowns now, and they're limiting how you go into the shops. This is why we're actually seeing foods a bit more in the shops. When this thing started, you know, there was a lot of empty shelves, which certain things are still empty, you know, but you're going in the shops now and you're finding the shelves a bit more stacked up. That's because they're limiting how people can go into these shops and buy food. But food shortage is actually there, and you know, the scripture speaks about famine, and believe me, it is coming. It is coming. You know. Anyway, it says there were reports of looting of medical supplies such as masks and hand sanitizers at hospitals that were under immense pressure, and that's what they're trying to avoid over here. The pressure on the health system. It says Marco De Monte Piroli, director of a hospital in the Liguria region of Italy, told the Wall Street Journal, "These are episodes of looting at a time when these health devices are so important. Doctors are now having to make life or death decisions about who to treat." You know, and that's like I said, this what's happening here can spread to other countries depending on how stringent they put in these lockdown rules. And with food actually running out, you know, this is what they're not letting us know. It's only a matter of time before it happens over here, because once your belly start to hurt you, you know, you start to do all kind of things for food, like we're going to see in the video that I'm going to play. It says Dr. Christian Salaroli in the badly affected Lombardy region told Second Corriere della Sera, probably said that wrong. If a person between 80 and 95 years old has severe respiratory failure, it's likely we would not go ahead. If they have multi-organ failure with more than 2 or 3 vital organs, it means that their mortality rate is 100%. Basically, they're just going to let you die. He added, to say that you do not die from the coronavirus is a lie that fills me with bitterness. So, as we can see, the virus is causing issues, which is bringing in lockdowns, which is causing unrest. And like I said, this is just one country. You know, I see no reason why this won't spread to other countries, you know, in time. As food shortage starts to get thin, these things will happen. Now, that was in the towns. Now, this is in their prisons and such. It says, Italian inmates are looting, and this is going back to the same date, 10th of March. It says, Italian inmates are looting methadone and setting prisons on fire in violent corona protests. And this is stuff that you don't really hear about on the news over here. You know, they keep these things out of the main public's eye. And suppose they don't want people to panic, and the same thing to start over here. It says, if people outside are scared, imagine what it's like inside. Now, the images of people on the jail. And when we go through this, you're going to find that this has actually happened through a number of prisons over there. You know, it's not just the one prison it's happening to. It says Italy's coronavirus lockdown has triggered violent protests in prisons across the country. See that? Across the country. It's not just one prison. As inmates fear a devastating outbreak behind bars. Now it says 11 people are dead after protests erupted in 27 prisons. How did I miss that? It says 11 people are dead after protests erupted in 27 prisons Monday. Inmates took staff hostage, launched mass breakouts, lit fires and scaled the roof of prisons. Most of the deaths appear to have been overdoses of methadone looted from prison clinics. Now, that was a bit silly on their part. It says most of the deaths appear to have been overdoses of methadone looted from prison clinics, but at least one was from smoke inhalation, according to Francesco Bassettini, the director of the Italian prison system. And like I said, these things are being kept quiet. You don't really hear them on the news over here because they probably don't want to cause panic. It says the riots began Saturday in the city of Salerno, when news leaked that the government was imposing an unprecedented lockdown of the country's north, impacting about 16 million people, of a quarter of the Italian population. With the number of confirmed cases continuing to soar, the emergency quarantine was extended to the entire country Monday night. Now it says the lockdown led prison authorities to cancel family visits and day releases. And if I'm not mistaken, they've done the same thing over here. You know, they've had a few inmates which have been tested positive, and they've cancelled visits over here as well. I think it's just reduced the phone calls out now. It says the lockdown led prison authorities to cancel family visits and delay and day releases, which sparked an angry response from prisoners. Inmates also called for an amnesty to allow them to serve their sentence from home during the coronavirus crisis. And that's a bit hopeful, to be honest. And urged action to reduce overcrowding. And overcrowding is something that happens in most prisons. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of the prisons over here, where you had 2-man cells, they've now become 3-man cells. You know, you'd have 2 single beds, now you'd have a single bed and a double bed. It says, amid fears that the virus could sweep through the jails, Italy's jail system is designed to hold about 51,000 inmates, but houses about 10,000 more than that, resulting in chronic overcrowding. It says further protests were reported Tuesday, including including in the southern city of Campobasso, where inmates set fire to mattresses to demand increased communication with their families during the crisis, and at Palomeros, you lot can pronounce that yourself, jail, where inmates overran sections of the jail and climbed on the roof. So that'll go back to the photo that we saw up here. So this lockdown is causing unrest. And we read about such things in the scriptures, and this talk causes famine, you know, you're going to see as well. Now this one here, this article is more recent. This is the 28th of March. So from the 10th of March, when these two articles were done, up to the 28th, what's today's date? The 29th. So this was yesterday this was done. Yeah, this unrest is still going on. Now, it says coronavirus. Italy become impatient with lockdown and social unrest is brewing. And like I said, it's only a matter of time before these things spread, because food shortage is actually is actually happening in the world, but they're not really telling us this. And like I said, with this virus thing going around, as they put it, and them limiting people going into the shops at a certain amount of time, you know, you can't all pile into the shops as before. They let you in bit by bit. It's allowing the shelves to look like a bit more healthy and giving that illusion that we've actually got enough food, but food shortage is actually around the corner. Proper food shortage, proper famine. You know, like I said, go and watch the Elders video, GMS Fear the Most High 7 Bar, his latest video on famine. It says videos have emerged of desperate people in Italy begging for help because they have run out of money and food. And this is another thing that this crisis is causing, this pandemic. You know, economic issues. It says well into its third week of the coronavirus lockdown. Oh yeah, that's about right. Italy is still seeing many hundreds of people dying each day. Progress in containing the COVID-19 spread is slow. Hope and patience are fading, and the economic cost is becoming ever more acute. Yeah, because it's actually hitting their pockets, all of this. And, you know, I think America, they put in a bill to, I think it was $2 trillion or something like that, to sort of boost up the economy. It says the strain is showing in the south of the country, where one man in Aquila reportedly called police after the bank closed as they couldn't withdraw his mother's pension, their only income. And we see over here as well in the UK, like the bank, they're doing the same thing, you know, limiting how people go in. And it's only a matter of time, like I said before, these things spread. You know, it's going to spread like the virus. It's only in Italy now. It says footage showed, and the more stringent the restriction, the more likely these things are to happen. And the stringent restriction is normal because of the death rate. And death rates are rising. They're not really steady wherever you go. It says, apart from in China apparently. It says footage shows him shouting at officers, telling them the family has no money. His mother begging them to go to their home so she could show them they have no food. Excuse me. It's hard to watch. It's what desperation looks like. And it's desperation because people have forgotten the Most High. So therefore, he has to bring judgment. You know, it's like a brother yesterday was saying there's no judgment. But obviously, he's not looking at what's happening around the world. He's only thinking about himself. And it's only a matter of time before the Most High bring judgment to his own door. It says another video has been shared around the country showing a father with his young daughter addressing the Italian Prime Minister, saying it's already 15 to 20 days that we've been inside and we're at our limit. Now I'm going to play that video in a bit. You know, I had to download it because it wasn't really playing too good on the website. It says he gestures to his little girl who is eating a piece of bread and says, like my daughter, other children in a few days won't be able to eat this bit of bread. Rest assured, you will regret this because we're going to have a revolution. And that's what will happen, man. You know, as things get worse, people are going to get to their wits' end and start to uprise. And like I said, these things are written about in the scriptures. It says, images have also emerged of police descending on a supermarket in Palermo in Sicily after reports people have started stealing to feed themselves. And that's what's going to happen as food starts to get slim. You know, people are going to become more disorderly, you know, more unruly, unlawful. And groups have been set up in the last few days on social media to organise raids on supermarkets. So Sky News was sent a video message of a man in Sicily with a gun, even offering to kill. And you'll see all of that in the video that I'm going to play. It says the mayor of Palermo told Sky News crime gangs are exploiting people's hardship and inciting violence. He warns a social emergency is next. Do I need to read any more? It says discomfort and malaise are growing, and we are recording worrying reports of protests. So this thing's getting worse, and anger that is being exploited by criminals who want to destabilize the system. And what's destabilizing the system? Not criminals, is the way you're, the way you're governing things. Actually, the virus is pushing your hand to do certain things, which is causing the system to destabilize. And at the end of the day, it's all the work of the Most High. So I don't think I'm gonna. Yeah. It says the more time passes, the more resources are exhausted. The few savings people have are running out. This tells us socio-economic issues will erupt, and that's going to cause further violence and unrest. Italy's Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has made 25 billion euros available to support families and businesses affected by lockdown. Some say they're still waiting for that help. Yeah, because they put these things in place, but then when it comes to getting it, it's another story. Like over here, people have been told not to go to work unless your job is a key worker job, meaning things like the refuse collectors, the bin men, those have to go to work. The bus drivers, certain support workers, those are deemed key jobs. But everyone else has to stay at home, so therefore you've got a lot of people as well who are going to sign on for social aid. Over here we call it universal credit. And the queue, one person was like 5,000 in the queue. It's madness. So these things will start to cause social unrest, because if you can't get no money to buy food and the little food that you've got is running out, what are you meant to do? What do they expect people to do? So these things will cause unrest. You see, others don't qualify because their employment is not officially recorded. Italy has a big cash economy of unregistered workers. The large majority of this is in the south. So these things is going to cause more unrest because people ain't got no money. They're going to need food. Food is actually running out, even though they don't really tell us this. So what I want to do is play that video. I don't think I really need to read any more. Actually, I'm going to read down and then I'll play the video. It says, the further south you go, the higher the level of deprivation and the higher the unemployment. And that's going to cause more unrest. While the virus hasn't reached the same crisis levels in southern Italy, hunger and hardship threaten to be even bigger problems. Italy is ahead of other countries in this outbreak, and unrest threatens to be the next chapter in this crisis. As the country struggles to bring the virus spread under control, the government has extended lockdown from 3rd April with no new deadline. So that's even going to cause more problems, because if the lockdown now is causing what we're seeing here, extending it, even though the 3rd April is around the corner, extending it is going to cause more issues. Extension ain't gonna. They're trying to contain the virus, but in doing so, it's also causing more issues. And this is how the Lord works. Everything works to His plan. It says lockdown is the only solution to save lives. Well, the Most High, when you read Deuteronomy 32:39, it says, I kill and I make alive, I wound and I heal, and there's none that can deliver out of my hand. So Yahweh is the one who's controlling all of this. It lets you know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. But in southern Italy, for many, it feels like it's threatening their very survival. So at the end of the day, the Most High's will is going to be done. Now I'm going to play this video. Let me get this up. Yeah, like I said, I had to download it because it wasn't streaming properly off the website, but yeah.
An even greater threat to the south of Italy than this virus could be unrest. It's hard to watch, but this is what desperation looks like. This man in Apulia shouting at police that his family have no money.
Like I said, it's only a matter of time before scenes like this spread to other countries, because food is actually running out. This is what they don't really want us to know.
His mother almost crying as she begs them to come home to see they have no food.
And you can tell that things are actually bad because this guy is kicking up the window and the police ain't really looking to arrest him because they actually probably understand the situation themselves, you know?
A photo has emerged of police descending on a supermarket in Sicily. It's claimed they were called to restore control after people came to steal food.
Già 20 giorni circa che stiamo dentro e siamo alla frutta.
This father in Palermo posted a video message to the Prime Minister showing his daughter eating some bread. It's been shared around the country.
Se, come mia figlia, altri bambini tra qualche giorno non riescono a mangiare sto pezzo di pane, stia tranquillo che lei non se ne sta a casa senza rimorso perché faceva la rivoluzione.
The Prime Minister has made 25 billion euros available for families and businesses affected by lockdown. Some say they're still waiting for that help. Others don't qualify because their employment isn't officially recorded. Italy has a big cash economy. The majority of this is in the south of the country. And the further south you go, the higher the deprivation, the higher the unemployment. While the virus hasn't reached the same crisis level down here, hardship and hunger threaten to be even bigger problems. In the last few days, people have started organising raids of supermarkets in closed groups on social media. A video shared with us from Sicily claims this man is even offering to kill.
Bye bye.
The mayor of Palermo says crime gangs are exploiting the situation and inciting violence. He warns a social emergency is next.
I soggetti sono anche privi di risorse, anche quei pochi risparmi che avevano messo da parte si vanno esaurendo e questo certamente lascia intendere una possibile esplosione di una questione socio-economica.
And social unrest has already started. He's saying social unrest will erupt. It's already started, you know. The first article I read was the 10th of March. This one here is from the 28th of March, yesterday. So it's been going on for a little while. It's just like they're not really publicising it as much.
Hundreds continue to die each day. Hope and patience are fading too. This small town in Lombardy is burying 90 of its citizens with the aid of the military. Perhaps no more stark reminder lockdown is needed to save lives. But in the south, it feels like it's threatening their very survival. Sally Lockwood, Sky News, Rome.
So it says hope and patience is fading. Well, this is what happened when you forget the Most High. You know, he lets you know who's actually in control of things. This is Job chapter 8 and 13. So are the paths of all that forget God, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish. Because like she said, hopes are fading. But the only ones that's really got any hope is the elect of Israel. 2/3 of our people and the rest of the nations are going to be judged because they've actually forgotten the Most High. It says, so are the paths of all that forget God, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish, whose hope shall be cut off, and whose trust shall be a spider's web. And we know that our hope is in Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. That's who's going to sustain us and guide us through these things. So the scripture here that I'm going to head out with is 2nd Ezra 15, and start 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. And that's what we're seeing. Woe's happening now. These pestilences, the uprising that's happening in Italy, these things will spread. And it will spread because the Most High has spoken it. He didn't speak it for it to just happen in Italy. It says, woe to the world. Yeah? It says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. Like you had that brother or that guy in the video was talking about, he was ready to kill. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their hand. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able. And that's what's happening now with this virus. A lot of countries are preventing people from coming in. It says, because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And that's what we're seeing happening in Italy. But like I said, this thing's going to spread. It's not going to stay just in Italy. So with that, I hope you can get some edification. I'm going to close out. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rekah Kadash, Kwam Yasharallah.